Hello, hello, hello. Hi to all. Welcome back to the Sustainable Sundays. I'm Moran. How are you?
Good, Domenica. Always glad to be back here with you. I love our
Yeah,
Sustainable Sundays. Here we go again.
yes, yes, for me too. And yeah, we will continue our recap from COP26 because it's a lot of things has happened from there, and so there is also a lot of material to show to our friends that are following. So, how do you feel with that, Moran?
Well, I'm super excited to be back here with you as usual. And today's topic is actually super optimistic. We have, I'll let you introduce it today. Tell us what we've got
Oh,
today. What have you discovered?
thank you. Thank you. Each time I receive the things that's coming out from COP26, each time I find new things. And actually, today I would like to propose and also address some topic that maybe are not so usual. I think that there are not on the main newspaper regarding COP26. It's something a little bit beside, but very very important because we know that the COP was at a high level with the ministries and so on, and big decision at super overarching levels. But actually, the COP was also something that go into the local level and into concrete. And one of the outcomes, beside the decision of COP26 that came out from Glasgow, are the Glasgow Breakthroughs. Now, I will just say this word that it's very, I don't know, big breakthroughs. What are they mean? But the fact is that these are concrete elements for also local governments, regional governments for a concrete transition and concrete climate action. And following that, so something that is coming from also this decision, another very, very important thing that, as the first, is not so told and not so common also in the discourse of climate change, that are the role of the indigenous people and indigenous communities in energy transition. So we have to think that also these indigenous communities have a great potential to be an example on energy transition.
Yes, we have
So,
so much to learn from them.
exactly. But yeah, we will talk it later. Maybe Moran, if you want to add a few things before starting.
Well, first and foremost, I love that there are still things that we're discovering from COP26. We're still in the first few weeks since then. There's a whole lot of information that was exchanged there, that happened there, that went down, that we are still discovering from all the different sectors and bringing it all together. So, I mean, everything is coming in little bits and pieces. I feel like it's a lot of collective intelligence. Like you're discovering things, I'm discovering things, others are discovering things, and we're slowly piecing together what we succeeded at achieving, what we didn't achieve, and then really still putting together our conclusions. Would you say?
Yeah. Actually, it's probably the process that we are taking. As I said,
So,
this cup was not so easy also to understanding deep. That's why I think we need
well,
some
there's that,
time.
and there's also the fact that there was less participation of civil society inside for the observers, opportunities for us actually to observe, under the title observer, because we weren't allowed in on so many occasions. And also since the 2 years of the pandemic and the delay of the COP, but also the word breakthrough in the first place, and the fact that you're bringing us today some information about the indigenous. I have a lot to say because I think so many solutions are right there, not hidden. They're out in the open about how they live their lives in harmony and balance with biodiversity included. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I will share my screen now so we can go a little bit in deep, also with visuals and some like visual elements. I'll share also the link into the chat so you can directly see on the comments, live comments here, what I'm showing. So here we are. I will share my screen. Okay. So here we are. Okay, here you can see this big title called Glasgow Breakthrough. So, and also other two initiatives that have been very important for the local level that are Race to Resilience and Race to Zero. But let's scroll down to see what are the Glasgow Breakthrough. Actually, they are starting an agenda for implementing the Paris Agreement and reach the 1.5 degrees as a goal. And the idea of this agenda is to perform a series of action across five key economic sectors. And they are called also 2030 breakthroughs because the timeline for this agenda is 2030. So let's see which are the leading targets and which are the areas of these sectors, economic sector that pertains the Glasgow breakthroughs. So the first of one that is also very interesting for the other element of today is power. The energy sector is one of the most polluting actually, and also it's the most costly. I don't know how is feeling you in your countries, but for example, here in Europe, we have a huge increasing cost of energy because we are still relying too much on fossil fuels. I don't know how
Same
is,
here. And same I've
yeah.
heard everywhere in America back home. A lot of my friends ask me the same question.
Yeah, because actually fossil fuel become costly for two reasons. One is because there are like a lot of taxes that, due to also the Paris Agreement, the governments need to pay because they are the taxes for polluting, and that's a good thing we can say. And the other thing is also that all the fossil fuels are becoming a limited and ongoing to finish asset. And so you have to imagine when something is going to finish, when something is going to exhaust, the cost of the actual resource is becoming higher. No, it's like a low market. And then that's why we have to make a transition towards clean and renewable energy, and it is affordable and is a reliable option to the actual state of art. And these efficiencies need to see the 2030 as a clear deadline. Also, because 2030 is also one of the milestones for reaching another great milestone of the Glasgow Climate Pact. It is 2050, so the half of the century. But okay, I say that power is one of the most polluting, but I mean, there is another one that is on the race to be the worst, that are the transport. We have seen this during the pandemic when the transport sector, when the transportation, also all the movement that were made by cars, by camion, and so on. We have seen that the quality of air also has been improved properly because a great contributor to the emission, both for the polluting and to the greenhouse gas emission, are the transport sector. And so we need to think about zero emission vehicles. And the sector is in a way related also to the first, because when we use affordable and renewable energy, then we can also think about vehicles that are not using fossil fuels, but are using other type of energy, solar energy, hydrogen, and whatever. Steel. Steel industry is another one that is super polluting, not only the climate, but also the waters and so on. And I surely know that the people that are listening from Latin America have something to say about that, because a lot of metal industries and steel industries are very polluting the rivers, especially in South America. And this is, I said, an emission, a very emittive sector. And to reach net zero emission of this sector means like contribute to lower a lot the the emission that are like given by the human activity. Hydrogen, I was saying before, hydrogen can be like the future of clean energy, especially for vehicles and for energy sectors that are actually going on gas or on other fluids or other fossil gasolines and so on. Hydrogen can be like the natural substitute of that.
Yeah, I was at an event last week here with the leading energy sector companies, and they were talking about how Europe is super leading with that. There are about 90 different stations that they're already experimenting and exploring throughout Europe, with Germany in the lead. But carry on.
Yeah, yeah, and yes, that's true. In Europe, we are trying to do that, and also to do another thing that could be very important for help the transition. Actually, the good news is that hydrogen can also run in the same infrastructure and facilities of, for example, methane. So we can substitute just the type of gas to to move from methane to hydrogen, but we can use the same facilities, and that's a good news because, of course, if when you are like rethinking like a providing sector and providing infrastructure, if you change the gas that you want to transport, of course, usually you have also to rethink the structure itself. But the good news is that for hydrogen, it's valid also the same actual infrastructure that we use for natural gas or for methane and so on. So, properly talking about methane, another sector that is very important to address is agriculture.
Agriculture. That's food,
Yeah, yeah,
people. Everything you eat.
yeah, yeah. And actually, agriculture is like, I mean, is like the bad and the good guy because agriculture is one of the sector that is most contributing, especially to methane emission. So one third of the global emission of methane are related to agriculture and massive agriculture. We can say intensive agriculture, no? And if we rethink the type of agriculture in a more climate smart, sustainable agriculture, we can lower a lot the consumption of methane.
The
Indeed,
production of methane.
yeah, sorry, the production of methane. Sorry, I was misleading.
It's all good.
And actually, it has also the power to be a sink, not only like a reduction. Because when you are building, for example, new type of agriculture fields or new type of like agroforestry facilities, you can also contribute to like sink and to grab CO2 and other greenhouse gas emission greenhouse gases, sorry, to the soil, to that you can
And
fix to the soil.
sinks means we are actually reducing the amount of carbon in the atmosphere, in the air. That's what Domenico is referring to in terms of sinks.
Yeah, and actually, we can also involve the farmer into this process, make the transition more inclusive. So not just a technical thing. The first sector were like super industrial, super technical, and so on. But with agriculture, we can involve also farmers, small farmers that can be leaders of that.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the challenges we had at COP26 is the farmers in the agriculture section felt that they were not given a big enough seat at the table. Although, to be honest, I think we're pretty much going to have to flip the story around because they are going to be the most important people very soon if we don't fix this food systems immediately because we need them to survive.
Yeah, yeah, actually, yes. And here you see. The Glasgow Breakthroughs can be properly like a roadmap for also local and national, subnational governments.
So
These
tell
are
us
very
what do you mean by breakthroughs?
breakthroughs. We can say that there are like something that like going deep. No, breakthroughs is something that is going very deep, and these Glasgow breakthroughs are resolution that are going very deep in the transition. So it's not just wording, say, yes, we have to reduce emission by a certain percentage, we have to reach the goal, we have to be, of course, these things are very important, but when you're running, for example, at the local level, this wording, this process can be complicated. No, imagine that you have to refer to your mayor or your, I don't know, regional governors to talk about these issues. The first thing that they will ask you, okay, but how this affect my region or how this affect my town, and so on. If you can explain with these things that are, I said, very concrete, very into the topic, you can just like move them to invest, to make a relevant decision also at the local level, because power is something that is coming still like at our home. That how we decide to provide the energy to our home can change a lot, and it's very like daily. It's not just so far away. Transportation and transport are like the main issue in the cities. So if we change and reshape the way of transportation into the cities, we contribute a lot at the local level on emission reduction. And I mean, agriculture, we are like on the ground. So these are very concrete elements. That's why they are called breakthroughs.
Thank you.
And also, I will add that now I'm scrolling down, and as I scroll down, I also try to catch some keywords. This agenda can also be a way to address the job crisis. We did several times the
Tell me about
connection.
that.
Yeah, we did several times the connection among the crises, no? The intertwining crisis. So we can see that health crisis is connected to climate crisis, but also social crisis is connected to climate crisis. And indeed, also the job crisis. We are in a job crisis, of course, because a lot of youths are unemployed. The old fashion industries are not giving enough like guarantees and reliability to also have new asset, because the thing is reshaping, the world is reshaping into another way, and actually follow this reshaping and implement jobs in this sector: power, road, steel, hydrogen, agriculture, is creating a lot of potential possibilities, because the work now is to do that. No, if we are still stucking on, I don't know, think about the work as we did before in a structured way, of course we are not on the time, you are like out of time, but now the work is there.
Yeah, but we're talking about jobs now, and also Corona made everything really shift, and we're still trying to reshift ourselves in transition. But also, are we also talking about future of jobs when we're, for example, one of the challenges in removing or minimizing the use of fossil fuels has to do with people losing their jobs. So we're trying to guarantee that the industries and the companies can allow themselves to transition to renewable energies without fear that they won't have their income and they won't have their job sections the jobs. So we're actually working through that as part of the solutions for climate change, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I will recall with that one of the principles that I very like into the negotiation, that is the concept of just transition. The just transition declaration,
Just transition, yes.
yeah, that the Just Transition Declaration was something that came out from COP24 in Katowice, and was very iconic. Also the place in which this declaration was held. You have to imagine that the COP24 was held in a region in Poland that called Silesia. That it's very very connected to the manufacturers industries or and also carbon industries, because Poland in that zone is very rich of carbon mines and coal mines and so on, and it gives a lot of
Mm-hmm.
jobs to the people.
Mm-hmm.
And in a region like that, you have to imagine that when you're talking about stopping the coal, of course, also the, I don't know, what they call the unions and other like social bodies are very, in a way, in attention. I'll say, oh, what? We have to close our industries, we have to close our jobs, and then what we gonna do? Uh, so the transition need to also take care about the social effects of transition. So not just the environment, but also the social condition, the workers' condition, the condition of the most vulnerable, and that's why it need to be just. There is not like a climate justice. There is a very motto of this declaration without social justice, and there are the potential because we have seen there is a lot of new jobs that can come out from the transition that in a way can replace and also improve the actual and current job. But of
Do
course, we
you
have to
want to
ensure that.
do you want to expand a little bit about what's the you just made a quick mention about the relationship between social justice and climate justice as part of the climate as like overcoming the climate change?
Yeah, true. I will take an example that also is iconic. I don't know if you have heard in the newspaper about that fact in Europe that was defined as like the Gilets jaunes in France. That was like this group of people that were like protesting along the streets with this like yellow gilet, yes, this yellow coat that actually is the one that are used to signal the presence of the people on the streets. No, actually, these protesters were worker of the transport sector mainly that were upset because a higher taxation to gasoline was brought to the French government to like respond to the climate crisis and so on. But actually, this taxation was unfair because they just augment the price of the gasoline without giving any other option to these people. And if you are a worker, if you are like someone that is working on the transport sector, of course, when you are seeing that, it is an expense to your work, no? And you have nothing in change in your
Exactly.
protest. Yeah, this is a clear example on an unfair transition and not just transition. And actually, the conclusion of this story is that these people were refusing the transition. So actually, it's returned back. No, something that was not also a
Wow.
political measure that was not properly designed, a political
Mm-hmm.
measure that not consider also the social variables into uh, the, the 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 main design, finally led to have a contrary effect respect to what was expected from them. No? So if you think about make taxes on fossil fuels, of course we can all agree and we say, okay, it's a good thing because we need now to move to other type of fuels, other type of energy supply. But
Yes,
if you
and oh yeah, but
but of course, if you have not giving any other option, if you are uh, let perceive as a burden, especially to the lower income people into your country, you are making a mess because no one wants to do that.
that's just what I was going to say. When we
Uh,
talk about transitional period, this needs to be like the headlines. Everyone is either taking extremes like it's they didn't solve the climate crisis or they did solve the climate crisis. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take years, even decades to really 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 shift us back. Although once we get things in a certain organized fashion, in a plan, in a strategy, which is part of what the COP is all about. Then, once we get the critical mass to change behaviors, mainly in the civil society and how we use the resources and where our demands are, then we'll be able to shift it. But in the meantime, the fossil fuel companies are raising their prices, but they're not giving us the solutions. And even though that's supposed to be some sort of systemic change that will apparently make more people drive less because it's more expensive, so we don't have the money to drive, instead, it's putting major pressure on civil society and giving more money to the fossil fuel companies yet again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You describe clearly the process that is beyond an unjust transition law, an unjust transition policy. And yeah, just to conclude on this point, I don't know,
Yeah,
Moran, if you, the very important thing of the breakthroughs is that the UK COP presidency take the lead also to organize a sort of checkpoint process. So you can see here at the screen global checkpoint process. This process is like set up to monitor and measure the progress towards these Glasgow breakthroughs on each one of the sector. And it's very important because you cannot manage what you cannot measure. So if you are like, I don't know, gather again in 5 years, 10 years, in 2030, how we can understand if we are going into the good or bad direction if there is not a process to measure at least the checkpoints and so on. And it's very important. That means that these are serious, no? It's not just claim, but it's something that is very concrete.
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, in so many of these points of the conversation, I feel comes in Project Drawdown, what they've offered, but has not been picked up yet by the global leaders. But carry on.
Yeah, and this is like the main overview of Glasgow Breakthroughs and the initiative Race to Zero and Race to Resilience, and give a look also to the Race to Zero and Race to Resilience. Like these campaigns are campaigns that are also led by civil society leaders, especially Nigel Thomas and Gonzalo Munoz, that are actually two of the high-level climate champions that has been also prized during the COP for their action and commitments, also as a civil servant to the UN, UNSCC mission. And actually these are like challenges that are open to region companies, education institution, and so on. So you see here a coalition of leading zero initiative for 35 region, 799 cities. So again, the local level, not just big decision, not just high level ministries and so on, but here ourselves, the like locals and so on. And it's very, very important.
Exactly.
And actually, properly talking about local level and local institution, but also local communities, maybe we can move to the other very important topic of today, in which when I discovered that, I was like, wow, that's the point. It's very
Wow.
important.
First of all,
And
before you transition to the next topic, can you share the link either with me or with the audience? I'll put it in the comments on the live Facebook stream.
sure, sure, I will like go back to the Glasgow Breakthrough. You can see here into the comments, into the chat. Or
Excellent. This is in the YouTube
yeah,
broadcast. I will plug it into the Facebook Live. I just want everyone to know who's watching. We're going over some of the Glasgow breakthroughs that happened in COP26 and moving into now the Indigenous renewable energies. Talk to us. What are you talking about? What's going on, Domenico?
you see this other big title just from the website of the COP 26. This was an event that was held just before
Yay.
and also even before the COP. That was the very topic. I'm showing that because it's very like on the spot on the topic. Just climate energy, indigenous renewable energy microgrids for energy transition. And maybe let's stick on that and we can explain. There are several concepts in this title. Just
Yes,
climate
there is.
energy. We said, no? Just climate energy. So the energy provision and the energy access need to be just. These not have to be,
Just
uh,
speaking of justice.
yeah. So energy access need to be for all, not just for the ones that have the money to pay high for costs and so on.
That's one angle of what it means to have just climate energy.
Yeah,
Another one is how we achieve, how we receive, how we contain the resources for the climate energy is needs to be in a just process. It must be done with rights, freedom, human rights protected, and justice through the process of the renewable energies, right?
yeah, right. Then I will turn and I will like jump one moment indigenous to come to it back later. And microgrid is another word that we can focus on. Microgrids are a new way to provide, in a way, the energy through properly another concept of energy provision. Actually, if you're thinking about fossil fuel and fossil fuel based energy supply, this model is very centralized. We have like I don't know the power supply station, the coal I don't know coal station or fossil fuel station that is producing a lot of things, a lot of energy burning the fossil fuel, and then this energy is distributed by the energy provision network to the your house, to your facility, to any other energy consumptor. Okay, this is like the main model that is centralized. So there is like a big producer that is giving the energy to the like lower consumptor. But you have to understand that this type of production, first of all, is very costly because you have to cost to like address also the cost of transportation of energy, and also is a in a way unfair because it's like in this model the the way on how there is one subject that to me maybe is the owner of the energy production that is like playing the game in a way, no? It's in a position of more power to the other, no?
Yep.
So actually, is a model that first of all cannot cover the whole energy demand of the world because we have seen this type of model can work uh, since a certain size of the community, and then it's coming even more burdenous as this system is growing. You know, you have to imagine like a central point that need to be big, even though the population is growing. And so this model has a limit that is intrinsic to this structure. Secondly, there are relationships of power. If I am a holder of an energy supply chain or so on, I can make the price. I can say now you can pay more and so on. So actually, of course, there is a market and all behind, but uh, this like led to inequalities by default, we can say. Microgrid indeed are like a model that completely like reshape and turn on the other side the energy production because actually is a model in which communities themselves are producing their energy. Okay, so I will show,
For themselves.
yeah, I will show an example of a microgrid. So you have, for example, you have to imagine that these are a city or a town, whatever. No, we can apply the same thing to a village or whatever. We have like a microgrid controller that is delocalized on the town itself that in a way control the local production of energy. that can come from solar panels, can come from I don't know, mini wind energy, or hydroelectric, or whatever. And for example, you can use this energy for charge the electrical vehicles, to charge the batteries of I don't know, of accumulators that you can bring in your home directly. And you have to understand that this model, first of all, needs and requires, we can say, a lower power level, because it's not like a central one that need to provide several others, but it's like
Can
a delocalized that, yeah,
Can you, before you actually go into how it all works, can you just go over what the names are? Because it's a little bit blurry. Just if you can name what's in the center, and then starting from, let's say, top right,
sure.
utilities.
This is a microgrid controller. It's like the central brain of a microgrid. So grid, you have to imagine that grid is
Thank you.
like
Yes, grid.
a connection of different producers and consumer, no? So, but it's local.
And what we're talking about is an energy grid. Let's just clarify
Yeah,
this. The way that
yeah, yeah.
you and I, whoever's watching right now, has electricity is coming off of a grid. The main grid is usually by cities, regions, areas. It depends on where you are and how they've set it up, the infrastructure. But we are talking about infrastructure here, and we're talking about breaking it down into smaller, more localized infrastructures to make it easier to transition into renewable energy. And what Domenico is introducing here is a concept called microgrids. And yeah, just let's go around those and read them off. So in the middle, it's a microgrid controller, and starting
Yes,
at utility, and then
yes. A
go down and
utility
around the circle, please.
is something that, of course, is like managing the controller. Then you can have like solar panel that can be on a field, abandoned field, for example, or on the top roof, on the top of the roofs of your homes, and so on. Then can be like wind turbines that can like bring also other energies. But then you can use also storage that can be localized there in your facilities, and so on. You can charge your electric vehicle because you are producing just the problem of electricity rather than fossil is that you cannot like accumulate for so long the electricity, because it's gonna degrade very easy, no? And so you need something that need to let circulate the energy in a proper way. But of course, to let circulate the energy in a proper way, an infrastructure that is more localized is better than another one that is more centralized, because you have the time from the production to the like final arrival that is proportional to the length of the transportation. No, for example, if there is like a central uh, producer for example, in a state that is going to perform by fossil fuel, and then there is like a long network of distribution. During this network of distribution, the energy is gonna to degrade a lot. Even though if you're producing just on site and you're consuming just on site, you can have more efficiency, and eventually also even less losses of energies in your like travel, no? And then we have several facilities. This is like an example that in a way connects producer and consumer at the same level. So it's a delocalized, the concept is like the decentralization and delocalization of energy production and consumption.
Fantastic. Carry on.
And actually, this model is very fitable, for example, with the autonomous communities. No, you don't need here to like
Exactly.
build
Self-sustaining.
exactly self-sustaining. Here, you do not build, I don't know, a super long pipeline that can cross ecosystem and so on, just to like dispatch the energy or fossil fuel. You just build the things there, the solar
Right.
panel of the rooftops, the wind energy collectors and turbines in your site, and so on and so forth. And actually, this model is something that also indigenous people are seeing as interesting for their community and to promote their energy, clean energy sovereignty. Okay, and in
Sovereignty.
COP26, yes, thank you. And for in this properly, the COP has make a very step forward, um, properly with the several discussions that were involving the indigenous people in clean energy production.
I was there with Satyaki and Joyce.
Exactly, and our friend Joyce, I think, is a leader on this field. And first of all, a big embrace and greet to get to Joyce. That I hope that she's following. But even though we can greet the same, but she's very very committed on that. And actually, as I said, is a model that is can be used also at the community level very easily, granting sovereignty, so the possibility to like own and consume the energy that is produced by community itself, independency, because you cannot rely to like an external network or an external provider, but just from your community. Zero emission targets, because if you're like producing the energy by solar panels and another like renewable type of energies, you are not emitting. And then it's more efficient because, as I said, I try to explain, when you're producing and consuming in the same place, you are like shortening the path from the production to consumption, and this led to more efficiency, you know. And so it's a very
Right.
important thing. It's a very important thing, this achievement that, as I said, are more on the local level. We addressed it the last time the global and high level, but now there is like also a local level that it's very active and actually can be a leader in energy transition and perform the Paris Agreement goals on the ground.
Well, that's why I think the reference to the indigenous is because this is more or less how they do live. They supply themselves with the energy that they need. And actually, there's an interesting transition happening now with cell phones and phone coverage. It's like a different kind of resource that they're needing to generate, but they are still doing it naturally with generators and also absorbing energy from the sun. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. And the wisdom that they want to share with us is how they do it in a self sustaining way. But yeah, it's certainly a big achievement on a global level.
Actually, yes, and I said it's not so common to see this achievement in the news. Actually, in the news has come out more the higher level with also like the results and comments on the results and so on. But it's not just all the things, not all the what's happened in the COP. And my opinion is that the local sub-regional level now, after the even the outcomes from COP26 that drafted some rules of the game, you can say. Actually, the involvement of the local and subnational level is now essential. I think that more important now that the decision has been in a way taken rather than in the past. Of course, since the Paris Agreement was not implemented, um, the high level was very like committed and very important. It was important to like put pressure and attention on the higher level. But actually, now that of course still a lot to do need to be done, um, but actually a lot of things are just decided, and now we have to apply and to turn from discussion to action. You can say.
Absolutely. Well, those are two great achievements in the last week. Achievements, discoveries that you made about the achievements from last week's Sustainable Sundays to this week's Sustainable Sundays. Thank you for that, Domenico. It's
Thank you
super
to you.
actually relieving because everyone's talking about what a failure COP26 was. And these are little wins. Every little win counts, and they're important to share as well.
Thank you to you.
Thank you. I'm glad you discovered them and picked up on them and shared them with us. So, anything else for today's Sustainable Sundays on these?
No, I think no. So maybe we can wait that Moran is coming again. In a way, this was like we are like trying to analyze piece by piece the results from this scope, and now let's wait that even Moran is going back. Maybe we can close this appointment of Sustainable Sunday. So I will like remind to put at least a like to our pages, so to the B page and Hubs in Facebook page, and also to subscribe to our channels that are the channel of B and the channel of Hubs in Italia. You will be receiving the notification of all these videos and all these initiatives that we are running on our activity. So, waiting for Moran. Here she is. Okay.
Testing. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries. So I
Technical
think
difficulties. Hmm.
so. It's the nice thing of life we say in Italy. So it's
Yes,
the life of the life.
that's
So
right. Life with live.
I think we can close the
Yeah,
session. I will give the
definitely.
floor to you.
Well, I just want to thank you for enlightening us today with two important points that for anyone who's watching and following the Sustainable Sundays, we try and bring you uh, all sorts of information from across the board, across the spectrum, and across the world pertaining to climate change and what civil society initiatives are doing to overcome this global challenge that we all need to do together. This is Domenico Vito from Hubs in Italia and me, Moran Solbrosa from B, and doing what we can to spread the information, share the knowledge that we know, educate those who are curious and interested about what they can do, because it's going to take all hands on deck. And that means not just waiting for the global leaders, but getting our hands stuck in. And every single one of us can do something every single day. That's what's going to really bring the change.
Thank you, and see you to the next Sustainable Sunday.
See you in the next
Bye.
Sustainable Sundays. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.